the eyeball, the smiling spider, the cactus man, the cyclops. This is not a list of creatures from a horror movie. These are paintings born from the infinitely creative mind of Odilon Redon, a man who believed in the superiority of imagination over the mere observation of nature. The dark realm of his shadowy worlds, spiritual beings, and mysterious creatures, once seen, they cannot leave your mind. Yet there is one that is even more unsettling than all the others. The painting you're looking at right now was titled The Crying Spider and was painted in 1881 by Odilon Redon when he was 41 years old. Its hairy body hangs beneath 9 thin legs, hastily traced with minimal detail, but the most disturbing element is that, instead of a spider's head, there is a human face. This combination may trigger a sense of unease, or even fear, but Redon depicts it with a sensitivity that evokes empathy. Its features include a broad nose, large almond-shaped eyes gazing upward, and a crown of dark, bristling hair. It does not express rage or pain. In its expression, there is only a quiet melancholy, accentuated by a single tear sliding down its cheek. The creatures Redon painted have no defined context or clear explanation. They are monsters floating in a dark void or leaning against walls that seem to emerge from nothingness. His surreal visions awaken our imagination by conveying emotions we can immediately relate to. His paintings may seem indecipherable, yet by the end of this video, once you learn the story of Odilon Redon, you will understand why his mind was inhabited by monsters as terrifying as those he brought to life on canvas. Odilon Redon, whose real name was Bertrand Jean Redon, received the nickname Odilon from his mother, Odile. From an early age, Redon showed a talent for drawing. He aspired to become a painter, but failed to pass the entrance exams for the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. However, in 1864, he did study painting there under Jean-Léon Gérôme for a time. Returning to his hometown of Bordeaux, Redon turned to sculpture, and it was Rodolphe Brédin who introduced him to engraving and lithography. In 1870, he was drafted into the army to serve in the Franco-Prussian War, forcing him to pause his artistic career. Fortunately, he survived the war and later moved to Paris, where he worked almost exclusively with charcoal and lithography. However, the memories of the battlefield would haunt him for the rest of his life. In Paris, he began creating artworks in deep black tones, known as noir, the French word for blacks. Redon's fascination with darkness was intertwined with an intense attraction to the unknown, ghosts, insomnia, fantasies, and the feverish dreams that daylight often conceals. His imagination was deeply influenced by literature, legends, and science. One example of this is Caliban, a character from The Tempest by William Shakespeare, which served as a major source of inspiration for Redon. He depicted Caliban in several works, including Sleeping Caliban, painted between 1895 and 1900. Familiar with Darwinism and contemporary scientific theories on the evolution of living beings, Redon interpreted the Elizabethan Renaissance myth of the savage through this strange hybrid creature, closely associated with the plant world. Cyclopes were another recurring theme in Redon's work. In his art, the eye often appears as an independent, all-seeing entity, a symbol of the human soul and the mysterious, unknown inner world. One of his most famous paintings, if not the most famous, is the Cyclops. While this piece belongs to a later period, which we will explore further on, it features a strange, one-eyed figure emerging from a mountain. Much speculation surrounds its true meaning. Beyond his fascination with the mysterious, Redon also suffered a personal tragedy. He lost his first child at a very young age, a loss that deeply affected his later works. Some believe the Cyclops may serve as a tribute to his son and as a way for Redon to cope with his grief. Another notable work from his noir period is The Cactus Man, which depicts a man's head emerging from a flower pot. His skin and head are covered in spines resembling the crown of thorns worn by Christ or other martyred figures. The pot itself is decorated with an image of an Amazon warrior killing a man, referencing the Greek myth of the warrior women, whose blend of masculine and feminine traits echoes the fusion of human and plant forms in Redon's drawing. Redon was also fascinated by natural sciences. With the support of his friend, botanist Armand Claveau, he studied anatomy, osteology, and microscopic life. He frequently visited the Natural History Museum in Paris, which included exhibits on biological anomalies, and attended lectures at the School of Medicine. Many of his monsters were rooted in careful observation, yet transformed through his boundless imagination. Redon's works resist singular interpretations. As he himself once said, "My drawings inspire and do not define themselves. They determine nothing. They place us, as music does, in the ambiguous realm of the undefined." By the turn of the century, Redon had become a celebrated figure in Paris. He was highly admired by symbolist artists and writers, with whom he shared an enthusiasm for the fantastic, mystical, and sublime forces lurking beneath everyday life. Later in his career, Redon transitioned to painting in color. His encounter with Les Nabis introduced him to a more decorative aesthetic. Japonism also influenced his work, seen in his attention to flat, abstract patterns and decorative compositions. However, he never abandoned his fascination with imaginary worlds and creatures. When asked in an interview about his favorite artistic subjects, Redon replied, "My monsters. I think that is where I have left my most personal mark." If Redon's creatures inhabit the realm of the inexplicable, the crying spider is undoubtedly one of his most unsettling manifestations, not only because of its strange hybrid form, but also because of the emotional weight it carries. An undefined creature, with a human face seemingly emerging from the void, trapped in a body that does not belong to it. Its eyes, dull and empty, stare without seeing. Its mouth does not open in a scream, but remains closed, immersed in silent resignation, and yet it weeps. The tears of this spider confront us with something profoundly human. Unlike many of his other monsters, which often observe us with indifference or a disquieting gaze, this creature evokes compassion. Why does it cry? Is it pain, regret, or simply an inexplicable sadness? Perhaps, like so many other figures in Redon's work, its suffering reflects a mind oscillating between horror and beauty, between fascination and the fear of the unknown. The symbolism of the spider has been interpreted in many ways throughout history. In some cultures, it represents patience and wisdom, the art of weaving one's own destiny. In others, it is a harbinger of doom, an ominous presence lurking in dark corners. But this spider, with its human face, seems to convey a different message. The weight of existence, the feeling of being trapped in a body one does not understand, in a world that feels alien. And this is where the context of Redon's life becomes even more significant. His fascination with the microscopic world, his visits to the Natural History Museum, his studies of evolution, and his personal experiences all seem to converge in this image. Could it be a representation of the artist himself? A figure trapped in a form he did not choose, condemned to exist in a world of shadows. The Franco-Prussian War left an indelible mark on him, and though Redon rarely addressed his wartime experiences directly, his noir seemed to be imbued with that lingering anguish. In one of his most famous reflections, Redon stated that his art was the result of two opposing forces: the meticulous observation of reality and the need to unleash his imagination. But when he surrendered to the latter, when he allowed the source of his mind to flow freely, he found a true peace. Perhaps the crying spider is the embodiment of that dilemma, the internal struggle between the visible and the invisible, between the rational and the dreamlike, between order and chaos. I would love to hear your opinion about this artist and what feelings their paintings evoke in you. Personally, I consider this artist to be one of the strangest I've ever had the opportunity to feature on the channel. And of course, it would be a pleasure to read your interpretations of this painting in the comments. In the video description, you'll find a link to this artist collection on our website. There, you'll discover their best works and have the chance to purchase your favorite to add to your collection. You'll also find phone cases and many other pieces that I'm sure you'll love. If you're an art lover, I invite you to visit the website and place your order. This way, you'll be supporting the creation of more videos like this one. Shipping is free worldwide. The link is in the description. Thank you for your support and see you in the next video.